Hi, you guys. Welcome back to Meaningful Motivations with Tracy Erickson. And of course, if you are new to this channel, welcome. My name is Tracy Erickson. And in this video, I'm going to tell you guys all about the fate line in palmistry. And this line talks about what has happened, what is happening, and what will happen in your lifetime. So stay tuned. The fate line is a line on the palm that can tell you quite a bit about a person and the life that they live. So the fate line usually starts somewhere in the lower portion of the palm and moves up towards the finger of Saturn, which is your middle finger. So just look at your palm and see what line goes through the palm and up towards this finger, and that will be your fate line. Now, some people have a very, very faint fate line, and some people claim they don't have a fate line at all. So if that's the case for you, if you have a very, very faint fate line or none at all, it just means that you may live a very mundane and ordinary existence, and you may be someone who's not particularly bothered by what other people think of you, or bothered by money or relationships or anything like that. Now, another thing about the fate line is that this line could sometimes start late and be strong, and sometimes it starts early and then just kind of fizzles out before it reaches the finger of Saturn. Now, in those cases where the line starts early and fizzles out, that would mean that the individual likely had a quick start in life and then was able to be more laid back and easygoing later in life. And of course, if the line starts later on the hand or farther up and then finishes towards that finger, that means that that person had a slower start in life and then became more motivated as the years went on and later on in life. I'm going to start by talking about where the fate line begins. So if you take a look at your dominant hand, and I'm left-handed, so this is my dominant hand, take a look at where your fate line begins. Again, it's the line that goes upward toward the middle finger. My fate line begins at the bottom here in the lower portion of my hand. So generally, people who have a fate line that starts in this lower portion of the palm, that generally means that the subject or whoever has this line had an early start to their life. They likely moved out of their family home at a younger age than some other people and started to make their way early on. And that happens to be true for me. If your fate line starts inside or as part of the lifeline, then that would indicate that your family has held you back in some way. This could mean that you're treated as a child, even into your adult years, by family members. Or it could mean that, like, maybe you have a family business that you are being forced to take over, or you simply do what you're told by your family, even if it goes against what you really want to do. If the fate line begins near the lifeline but is not connected to the lifeline, then that would represent that you had a good upbringing and were offered a good education by your family, but when the time came, they allowed you to grow up and go your own way. The cool thing about the fate line is that while it's not 100% accurate on timing, you can get a feel for around the ages or times that things may happen in life. So if you have lines entering into your fate line in this lower portion, that would represent something that happens by the age of 23 or younger. Now, if lines are entering the fate line between the head and the heart line, then that would indicate between the age of around 35 to 50. And if it's above the heart line, then that would be your age 50 to 55 and older. Now, if you have lines entering into the fate line from either side of your hand, those lines represent important people in your life. Now, these are not short-term relationships that come and go, but these would represent something significant and big in your life. So, for me, for instance, I have a line coming in way down here at the bottom. So this would indicate that I was ready for marriage at a very young age. I was ready to take on a full-on relationship and be with my person since before the age of 23. So if you have any lines entering in at the lower end of the fate line, then that may be the same case for you, where you're just ready for marriage and ready to begin a life with someone, with a life partner, from a very young age. Now, if these important person lines that are coming into the fate line enter in from the thumb side, so they're coming into the line from this side of the hand, that would represent someone you met through family, school, or the workplace. Basically, it represents someone that you will meet and marry who came from a familiar environment to you. If your important relationship lines come in from this side of the hand, so if they're coming in as little lines from that side into the fate line, then those would just represent someone that you will end up meeting or have met that was not a neighbor, a family member, someone you met at school or at work. It's basically someone that you met outside of your familiar territory. Now, you may also see very fine lines coming out on this side of the fate line. And those very fine lines are just going to represent important friendships that come along in your life. Now, obviously, the same rule applies if your lines are coming in at a later time on your fate line. So if the lines are coming in on the thumb side for, in between the head and the heart line, then that would represent someone that you meet within familiar territory that you would meet probably after, the age of 35. And if you have lines on that other side, it could represent friendships or a partner that you meet outside of familiar territory after that age. Sometimes you might see that a person has two fate lines just running right next to each other. And so if someone has two fate lines that run parallel, then that represents someone who took a wrong path in life, and at some point they lived with a lot of resentment regarding the path they took. So this is someone who had a longer spell of bitterness and resentment in their life. Now, it could just be a passing thing, or that could be the mindset that they have for the rest of their life. It just kind of depends on where these two fate lines are running. And by the way, the lines on your hands can change based on how you change. So if you're someone living in a lot of resentment, bitterness, or just negative energy regarding a path or a choice that you've made in your life, it is never too late to change. The lines on your hand are not your permanent station in life. The lines on your hands represent your consciousness, which is ever changing and evolving. So if you want to let go of that resentment and that bitterness in your life and adopt a new way of being, or possibly go back to the other path that you should have chosen, it's never too late. And eventually the second fate line will fade away. There could also be a number of different types of disturbances that are seen on the fate line. And disturbances could be represented by islands in the line, breaks in the line, or the line could even end in a Y and then begin again. So I just want to talk about some of those different disturbances that may be observed on the fate line and what it could mean. If there's a line that seems to join the heart line and the head line in a diagonal direction, which also crosses your fate line, that represents someone who has a relationship that just comes to an end without the subject really knowing why the relationship ended. So usually it's because of a lack of any real true communication and understanding between the two people. Many palm readers believe that islands on any line will weaken the strength of energy in that line. So if you look at your fate line and see that it has any type of island within it, then that island will just represent some type of problem, or difficulty, a period of difficulty, or, some kind of problem in your life. So this could actually be referring to anything when it comes to the fate line. So it could be a career problem. It could be money problems. It could be about a relationship. It could be about health. It could be about literally anything. So the island itself is really just going to show you the type of difficulty you may have been facing. So islands can either be short and oblong in shape, or they have a long, narrow split that goes a far distance. So basically, if you look at the way the island is on your fate line, it'll give you a clue as to the nature and the length of time that you will be experiencing the problem. So if you have a very short, obvious island, it could be a difficult period that is just short but sharp and memorable. So if you have a long, narrow island or a split in the line, this could show a long period of dissatisfaction. If you notice a break in the fate line where the line is moving and then it stops and carries on later, that would represent a period of time in the subject's life where basically there was a halt in progress. So there was no movement forward in a particular direction. So, for example, a mother who ends her career to raise a baby at home may show a break in her fate line because of ending that career, for instance. But it could be any multitude of things that is represented by this break. But generally speaking, it's a time where the progress in life just kind of stops or pauses for a period of time. And sometimes on a fate line, you can even see a break that ends in a Y shape. So if you see a fate line that has a sudden ending in a Y shape and then picks up later on, that's going to represent an individual who literally just stopped and walks away. So it could be someone who just simply quits their career and walks away. Or, a husband that goes out to buy milk and never comes back. That type of energy is what you will see happening if someone has a Y break in their fate line. There's just so much that you can learn about a person by taking a look at their fate line. You can see not the exact timing of situations, but you can see a general time frame of when things are going to happen within the lifetime of a subject. And you can see if they are someone who's very individual and goes their own way, or if there's someone who just kind of goes with the flow of what everyone else is doing. There's just so much that you can learn about a person from one line on the palm of their hands. Well, that about wraps it up for this video. So if you like this video, be sure to click that like button and share this video with all your friends out there. And of course, if you're a viewer but not yet a subscriber, I would love for you to click subscribe down below. And once you have subscribed, you can turn on that notifications bell if you would like to be notified each and every time I upload a new video. Thank you guys so much for watching and spending your time with me. I love you. And I'll see you next time. Bye.